Picture this for a second. A teenager steps onto a tennis court against someone ranked far above her, someone with more experience, more titles, more reasons to feel confident. And yet somehow it's a teenager who looks like she's the one who's supposed to be there. That's the moment people started paying attention to Alex Eala. Not because of a single flashy shot or a viral highlight reel, but because of something harder to fake: composure. Anyone can look good when things are going their way. The real test comes when a match tightens up, when the crowd goes quiet, when a single point could swing the entire momentum. And that's exactly where Alex seems to thrive instead of shrink. Coaches talk about this constantly, this idea that talent gets you noticed, but temperament is what actually determines how far you go. And it's that second quality, the mental one, the one you can't measure with a stopwatch or a radar gun, that keeps coming up again and again when people who spent decades in professional tennis start describing her. So let's actually dig into why that is, because there's more to this story than just she's good under pressure. There's a whole foundation being built here, brick by brick. And once you understand how it's constructed, it becomes a lot easier to see why so many respected voices in the sport keep circling back to her name. Start with the obvious question. Where does that kind of composure even come from? It's not something you're simply born with. Not entirely. Sure, some players have a naturally cooler temperament, but at the level Alex is competing at, raw nerve only gets you so far. What separates her, according to people who've watched her train, is that she doesn't seem to be performing calmness. She actually trusts the work she's put in, and that trust becomes the thing she leans on when a match gets tense. Down a break, facing a higher-ranked opponent, serving to stay in a set, whatever the scenario, she doesn't start second-guessing her game plan. She sticks with it. She fights the next point like it's the only point that exists, and then she does that again and again until either she's run out of match or she's won it. That's not a personality trait you stumble into by accident. That's something forged, usually through years of repetition, years of losing and adjusting and losing less. And in Alex's case, a lot of that forging happened at one of the most demanding training environments in the sport, the Rafael Nadal Academy. Think about what that actually means for a second. This isn't a weekend clinic. This is a place built around the philosophy of one of the most relentless competitors tennis has ever produced, a place where discipline isn't suggestion. It's the entire operating system. Training there day after day means absorbing habits that go far beyond footwork or grip technique. It means learning how to show up on the days you don't feel like it, how to grind through repetitive drills long after they stop being fun, how to treat professionalism as a daily requirement rather than something you switch on for tournament week. And for a left-handed player specifically, that environment offers something extra valuable, because left-handers already carry a built-in tactical advantage in tennis, forcing opponents to adjust angles and spins they're far less used to seeing. Combine that natural asymmetry with an academy that sharpens every technical and mental edge, and you start to understand why her game has that distinct, difficult-to-read quality that makes opponents uncomfortable even before the rallies get long. But here's the part that really seems to catch people's attention, the part that goes beyond just skill or geography or which academy produced her. It's her relationship with improvement itself. There's a very specific danger that hits young athletes once they start getting real recognition, once former champions start dropping their name in interviews or scouts start showing up to their matches. The danger is comfort. The danger is starting to believe the hype a little too much, easing off just slightly because the results are already coming. By every account, that hasn't happened with Alex. If anything, the opposite seems true. After tournaments, win or lose, she's reportedly back to breaking down her serve mechanics, refining her movement patterns, reworking shot selection in situations where she felt even a flicker of hesitation. That's a rare quality, honestly, because most competitors, even successful ones, tend to coast a little after a big win, treating it as a stopping point rather than a data point. Alex apparently treats every match, good or bad, as information, as one more piece of evidence about what needs sharpening. That mindset, the refusal to ever feel finished, is often the exact quality that separates good junior players from the athletes who eventually make the leap into sustained professional success. It's the difference between someone who peaks early and plateaus, and someone who keeps climbing because they never let themselves believe they've already arrived. Now pair that relentless self-improvement with something equally important and often underestimated: attitude. Tennis is a strange sport in that it's brutally individual. There's no teammate to lean on when things go wrong. No substitution. No timeout to regroup with a coach mid-set in most tournaments. It's just you, your opponent, and whatever is happening inside your head. That isolation breaks a lot of players mentally, especially young ones who haven't yet learned how to separate their identity from their results. Lose a tough match, and suddenly the frustration spills into body language, into snapped rackets, into arguments with officials, into a spiral that bleeds into the next tournament. From what's being said about Alex, that spiral doesn't seem to be part of her story. Win or lose, she's described as humble, respectful, still locked on the process rather than the outcome. That kind of even-keeled attitude might not show up in a highlight reel, but ask any coach, and they'll tell you it's often the single biggest predictor of long-term success, more than any single shot in the arsenal. Because talent will get you into big matches, but it's temperament that determines whether you can handle what happens once you're actually in them. So when you start connecting these threads together, the composure under pressure, the discipline built through elite training, the refusal to get comfortable, the humility that survives both victories and defeats, you start to see why seasoned voices in tennis keep gravitating toward her name. It's worth pausing on that point specifically, because praise from people who've actually competed at the top level carries a different weight than praise from casual observers. Former world-class players have seen hundreds, sometimes thousands, of young athletes come to the system with obvious talent that simply never translated into anything lasting. They watch prodigies flame out, mentally fragile despite having beautiful strokes, and they watch less naturally gifted players outlast them simply because they had the discipline and resilience to keep developing year after year. So when those same people look at someone like Alex and see something promising, they're not just reacting to a nice forehand or clean serve motion. They're recognizing a combination of traits that history has shown, over and over, tend to produce genuine longevity in this sport. Talent opens a door. Discipline keeps you walking through it daily. Resilience is what gets you through the inevitable stretches where nothing seems to be working. And character, real character, is what keeps you grounded enough to handle both the losses and the attention that starts coming with the wins. It's a rare combination to find all at once, especially in someone still building their career. And that rarity is exactly why her name keeps surfacing in these conversations. Of course, none of this guarantees anything. That's important to say plainly, because the tennis world is littered with cautionary tales of young players who had all the ingredients on paper and still didn't make it to the very top. Injuries happen. Growth spurts change a player's game overnight in ways that are hard to predict. The competition only gets more brutal at each successive level, and the margin between very good junior and consistent tour-level competitor is enormous, wider than most casual fans realize. So there's no certainty here, no guaranteed trajectory toward a Grand Slam trophy, just because the early signs look promising. What there is, though, is a foundation that's genuinely difficult to fake, a set of habits and mental patterns that tend to be sticky, that tend to travel with an athlete as the level of competition rises. Players who panic under pressure at 16 usually still struggle with it at 20, unless something fundamentally shifts in how they approach the game. Players who stay coachable and hungry even after early success tend to keep improving well past the point where their peers plateau. So while nothing is promised, the specific traits being described here, the calm, the hunger, the humility, the work ethic instilled through rigorous training, these are the traits that history says matter most when it comes to separating athletes who have a nice junior career from athletes who go on to build something lasting on the professional stage. And that's really the heart of why this story is worth paying attention to right now, before the outcome is decided, while the trajectory is still being written. It's easy to get excited about an athlete after they've already won everything, after the trophies are sitting on the shelf and the highlight reels are already cut together. It's a lot more interesting and honestly a lot more revealing to watch someone while they're still in the building phase, while the foundation is still being poured, and to ask whether the pieces are actually there for something bigger. Based on everything being said by people who've actually been inside professional tennis, who understand exactly what it takes to survive at that level, the pieces genuinely seem to be there with Alex Eala. The composure, the discipline from years at a demanding academy, the refusal to ever feel finished, the humility that doesn't waver based on a scoreline. Put those together and you're not just looking at a promising young player anymore. You're looking at someone with the raw material that legends have learned through decades of hard experience tend to matter more than anything else in this sport. Whether that raw material eventually turns into Grand Slam trophies is a question nobody can answer yet, not with certainty, not this early. Tennis is a way of humbling even the most promising careers, and the climb from talented junior to major champion is one of the steepest in all of sports. But if the pattern being described holds, if the work ethic stays consistent, if the mental toughness doesn't crack as the stakes get higher and the opponents get tougher, then there's a real case to be made that we're watching the early chapters of something significant, the kind of story people look back on years later and say they remember when it was just getting started. So here's the real question we're sitting with. Do you think Alex Eala has what it takes to go all the way and eventually lift a Grand Slam trophy someday? Or is it still too early to say for sure? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of debate worth having while the story is still unfolding. And if you want to stay updated as this journey continues, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next.